On April 21st, 1927, Sir James Matthew Barry was invited to tea at Buckingham Palace at the request of the Queen Empress. If you don't know who Barry is, just remember this. He was the writer of Peter Pan. And one of the benefits of being the writer of such a famous book and a well-liked book is that the public will often attribute the characteristics of a likable character in the book to the author himself. And such was the case with Barry. So he was very well liked in England, and so he went to tea at Buckingham Palace, and he walked over to the Queen at some point, was not shooed away, and he leaned over and whispered in her ear something, and after he did this, she motioned for Sir James at the door to come to her, and she told Barry, she says, all you need to do is go through that door and around the corner and through this door and thus and thus. And then when you get to that door, let Nurse Knight know that upon the order of the Queen Empress, you may see the sleeping princess. So he did. He got to the room and he tiptoed up to the crib and he looked down on little Princess Elizabeth, who had just turned 1 year old. The sleepy-eyed little girl looked up at him, and he smiled at her, and she yawned, her little pink yawn, and then she went back to sleep. And that's how the author Peter Pan got to see who we know now as Queen Elizabeth for the first time. You know, sometimes in life there is no other way that you're going to be able to get what you want other than at a high price or by simply asking for it. And some things come at such a high price that you could never afford it. Some people may, but you couldn't. And then the only thing you're left with, the only option you're left with is if you were to ask for it. And you know, some people will simply not ask for what they want because they don't think they deserve it, they don't feel like they can afford it, and they don't think they deserve it because they can't afford it. And so they're also afraid to ask for what they want. But I'm going to tell you something. Start asking for what you want. You know, there's a verse in the Bible, Jesus says to his followers, you have not because you ask not. And he was making reference to asking the Heavenly Father for the things that we cannot provide for ourselves. And this is inclusive of that. But even if you don't believe in what I just said, you still need to know that it's okay to ask for things that you might not otherwise be able to get through your own power. I'm not talking about walking into Burger King and saying, I want a Whopper with cheese for free. Can you give it to me, please? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that lie outside of your abilities and your powers to afford. And the only way that you may be able to procure what you want is by asking. But many people won't do that. They won't ask. Start asking for what you want. You might be surprised. You know why? You know why it's important to ask? Because the people who have the power to give enjoy giving, believe it or not. They like to be beneficent. That makes them feel good. It makes people feel good to give. Even the ones who aren't giving, if they would start giving, they would actually feel better. But it makes people to feel good to give. And also, people may look on you differently than what you might expect. People might look on you favorably as the Queen Empress looked on James Barry. You say, well, he's a person of great stature. Well, we don't know how people look at us. They may not see us as someone of great stature, but they still might want to help, and they still might want to give. So be willing to ask for what you want, because you might be surprised. Give it a try, and remember Peter Pan and the Sleeping Princess. Think about that the next time. Catch you later, guys. Bye-bye.